1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't lived the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters don't move. Whatever click you choose, you better
Say, what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to Life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. You're down! For those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me gassing right there on that intro, and if you want to get that song, it is available for purchase only from me on a 10-song EP that you can get on a digital download link. If you're interested, hit me up on my email, 16tolifemusic@gmail.com, Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle me $20, and I'm going to get it to you ASAP. Now, this video right here is a video about an individual that I call the Sacramento Savage, or known as by his government name as Jason Brannigan. Now, in all actuality, he may not even be from the city of Sacramento per se. I saw that he was from the county of Sacramento, and so I just happened to call him the Sacramento Savage. So this is about an individual who was sentenced to a substantial amount of time, and while he was locked up serving that time, he happened to take the life of a dude named Lamar Scott, and then less than a year later attempted to stab, and I'm assuming also take the life of 2 correctional officers in a prison known as New Folsom. So anyway, let me get into that first part of the story, and this is what happened. California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation officials are investigating the December 16, 2024 death of an incarcerated person at the California State Prison, Sacramento, as a homicide. At 6:04, officers observed incarcerated person Jason Brannigan allegedly attacking Lamar Scott, using an improvised weapon to stab Scott multiple times. Brannigan then allegedly swung the weapon toward another incarcerated person, Santana D. West, striking him as well. Officers immediately quelled the incident. They initiated life-saving measures and activated 911. Emergency personnel arrived on the scene and continued administering life-saving measures. Paramedics pronounced Scott deceased at 6:36 p.m. West was treated for his injuries. No other injuries were reported. Brannigan has been placed in restricted housing at SAC's as SAC's investigative unit continues its investigation. The Office of the Inspector General has been notified, and the Sacramento County Coroner will determine the cause of death. An improvised weapon was found at the scene. Scott, 35, was most recently received from Contra Costa County on July 12, 2018. He was sentenced to 16 years for corporal injury on a specific person, resulting in traumatic condition as a second striker, with enhancements inflicting great bodily injury involving domestic violence, personal use of a dangerous or deadly weapon, and prior felony conviction of a serious offense. West, 71, was most recently received from San Francisco County on March 15, 2022. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for basically forcing himself on another person with force, violence, fear, or bodily injury as a third striker. Brannigan, 47, was most recently received from Sacramento County on March 7, 2011. He was sentenced to 17 years, 18 months for corporal injury to a spouse within 7 years of a prior specified conviction, criminal threat that caused great bodily injury / or death, and vandalism as a second striker, with an enhancement for a prior felony conviction of a serious offense. While incarcerated, Brannigan was sentenced by Kern County on February 28, 2022 to 4 years for possession / manufacture of a deadly weapon as a second striker, an in-prison offense. SAC opened up in 1986 and houses more than 2,200 medium, maximum, and high security incarcerated persons. SAC offers an academics class, vocational program, and employs approximately 1,500 people. Then here are a look at the individuals. So this right here is Lamar Scott, who is the victim in this case right here. Now look at this old sneaky, yeah, I don't want to say it, man. This old sneaky vagina snatcher right here, man. This dude looked like a tree jumper, you know what I'm saying? This is old Santana D. West, the 70-year-old, you know, who was in there for forcing himself on people. And this right here is the savage, Jason Brannigan. Man, this dude, to keep it 100, man, he looks like a pretty serious dude. And he looks like he has some weight on him, you know. So obviously a big dude with a weapon, mad with a lot of time, is nothing to play with. And he shows he has an affinity to get cracking with that kisu, which is a knife in Swahili, by his various assaults, stabbings, and weapon possessions in prison. So now after he was subdued and they got the situation under control, the correctional officers, he was eventually placed in what's known as ADSEG, or administrative segregation, which is pretty much like the hole. Now, when you happen to be charged with a case that the administration considers serious, they're going to write a rules and violation report on it. And also they're going to give you what's known as the DA referral, which means they're going to refer that case to the DA who happens to be in whatever county that particular prison is in. Once the DA receives the information, he's going to overlook it. And if he happens to decide that he also wants to charge you, then you will be charged as if you were a free person. And then, despite being in prison, you will have another case that you have to go back and forth to court, and they will transport you on a state prison, in a state prison van, until you get this case adjudicated, disposed of, charges dropped, take a deal, or whatever the situation will be, right? So while he's sitting back in the hole waiting for all this to play out, one day they happen to come and tell him, hey man, listen, we want to search your cell. Now when you're in ADSEG, you don't even leave your cell until you're searched, and they make sure you're strip searched, and they make sure you don't have any weapons on you. So how that happens is the guards will come to the cell. They'll tell you to step back. You know, you'll be in their view. You have to take off all your clothes, run through your ear, run your hands through your hair, turn around, squat, cough, lift up the bottom of your feet, lift up your private parts and all that, until, you know, that you have to go through this procedure until they're sure that you don't have a weapon. And then, so then what you do, you'll turn around. There's a little tray slot that's maybe about a little lower than waist high, or maybe waist high. And they open that, and you stick your hands through that. Then they'll handcuff you and take you wherever they're going to take you, sometimes to the shower or whatever. And then they'll search your cell, right? So after this process plays out, and these two correctional officers are escorting the Sacramento Savage, at some point in time, he obviously pulls out a weapon and he stabs both of these correctional officers to the point where they both need medical attention. They're took to the hospital. So if you guys was paying attention when I read what he was initially charged with, we saw that he was sentenced to 17 years and 8 months. Now, at that time, he was around the age of 34. Now, 34 is what some individuals may consider being in the prime of one's life, right? And so when you get sentenced for a violent crime in the state of California, you're going to have to do 85%, right? So somewhere around, if we do the calculations roughly, right, somewhere around 85% of his time would have been putting him out in this year, actually, somewhere around March the 7th, right? But I failed to mention that in February of 2022, he was charged with weapons possession. And so he was given 4 years for that. So even with the 4 years, right, for the weapons possession, considering he got his 85%, which means he can get 15% good time by going to school, taking your vocational training, staying out of trouble, so on and so forth, right? That would have put him out somewhere around late 2029, early 2030, right? So some people may look at it like, man, why did this dude wait to do all that time and then crash out at the latter part of his sentence? Because sometimes, in my opinion, I feel people will misuse the term crash out. You may see a grown man hollering on the street, screaming at somebody, and people will say, oh man, he crashed out. No, that's not a crash out. That's just a grown ass adult having a temper tantrum. Now, when this dude in prison goes and takes the life of somebody else and then attempts to stab 2 other correctional officers, and he does actually, in my opinion, that is the true definition of crashing out, right? So who knows, right? A lot of times it's all about how dudes sentenced to time will psychologically handle and approach the time that he has. Like I said, 34 years old, some may consider, that's the prime of a person's life. He possibly, and I don't know, I'm just speculating here, the Sacramento Savage, he possibly may have looked at it like, man, I'm 34 years old, I'm going to jail, I'm pretty much do 18, 20 years, I'm not coming home till I'm 50, it's over. Who knows, man? He may have had a house, a good job, and coming to prison, he lost all that, and it just put him in a downward spiral, to the point where he came to prison, he strapped up, he got a knife, and he was on his, and he wasn't going to take no BS from nobody, right? So some people may say, well, dang, man, why did he wait all that time? Because like I said, had he not got caught with the knife and stayed out of trouble, he would have been looking to come home sometime in March. But then you have others who feel like, hey, man, had the dude not had that knife, maybe he wouldn't have even made it, till March of this year. In order to make it home, you have to be alive to make it home, right? So it's all about, once again, how a dude psychologically approaches a situation. Obviously, with him, he felt that having a knife was necessary. We can see by all the times that he's used a knife in prison, and also he got caught with a knife in February 2022, right? So we obviously can deduce that he felt having a knife was the thing to do, or the best thing to do for him in prison. Now, who knows what it was to make him feel like when he happened to have a altercation with the dude Scott, who knows what made him felt like it was time to attempt, and he actually succeeded in taking this dude's life. And he even turned around and he stabbed Santana D. West, who was a tree jumper. Right now, I don't know if he knew the dude was a tree jumper. I don't know if Santana D. West came over there and said, hey man, what's going on? Stop trying to, hurt that brother. Who knows what happened? But ultimately, according to the reports, he did, blast the tree jumper one time as well, right? And so obviously now he won't be coming home anytime soon, if coming home at all. And so I think it's safe to assume, considering all that has transpired with this individual, the Sacramento Savage, his mentality is it's best to have a weapon in prison, right? And so I think it's safe to assume he will not stop trying to have weapons. And so just furthering in the activities that he feels is best for him while doing time in prison. Anyway, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life, and that was a story on the Sacramento Savage. Resume normal program.